Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Zahra Noreen, Course Instructor Plant Physiology 1, BOTN 3119. Today's topic is about ammonium assimilation. It's a continuation of our previous lectures, nitrogen assimilation. In previous lectures, we learned about nitrate form of nitrogen, that how nitrate get assimilated by plants, and now we will see that how ammonium get assimilated by plants. So objectives of this lecture includes student will learn about the importance of ammonium assimilation, pathways of ammonium assimilation, and regulation of the enzymes involved in ammonium assimilation. The first stable product of nitrogen fixation is ammonia. Although at physiological pH, ammonia is almost certainly protonated to form ammoniamine. That is, ammonia plus hydrogen will give rise to ammoniamine and vice versa. That ammonium can be dissociated back into ammonia and hydrogen at high pH. Plants that cannot fix dinitrogen meet their nutritional needs by taking in nitrogen from the soil. While there are exceptions, most of the plants are able to assimilate either ammoniamine or nitrate ion, depending on their relative availability in the soil. In most of the soils, ammonia is rapidly converted to nitrate by the nitrifying bacteria. Nitrifying bacteria do not grow well under anaerobic conditions, and consequently ammonia will accumulate in the soil that are poorly drained. Nitrification itself is also inhibited in strongly acidic soils. Some members of the family Ericaceae typically found on the acidic soils because they have adapted themselves by preferentially utilizing ammoniamine as their nitrogen source from the soil. One extreme example is the cranberry Vaccinium macrocarpon, native to the swamps and bogs of eastern North America, which cannot exploit nitrate, so they have to take up nitrogen in the form of ammoniamine. Ammonium assimilation is energy intensive. Regardless of the route taken, assimilation of minerals, nitrogen into inorganic molecules is a complex process that can be very energy intensive. It has been estimated, for example, that assimilation of ammonium nitrogen consumes about 2 to 5% of the plant's total energy production. On the other hand, nitrate first it has to be reduced to ammonium because before it can be assimilated into any other nitrogen containing compound. So at a cost of nearly about 15% of the total energy production is utilized when nitrate is taken up by the plants as nitrogen source. Ammonium is toxic to plants. Although ammoniamine is readily available to many plants, either as the product of nitrogen fixation or by take-up from the soil, as we have discussed in the previous lectures, it is also quite toxic to the plants. For example, in nitrogen fixing system, ammonium will inhibit the action of dinitrogenase enzyme, which is required in the bacteria for the conversion of dinitrogen, into other forms of nitrogen. Ammonium also interferes with the energy metabolism of the cells, like especially ATP production. Even at very low concentration, ammonium has the potential to uncouple ATP formation from electron transport, which happened in mitochondria and chloroplast. We have discussed this process in detail in our previous lecture. Consequently, it appears that plant can ill afford to accumulate excess free ammonium. It is assumed that most plants avoid any toxicity problem by rapidly incorporating the ammoniamine into amino acids. Conversion of ammonium to amino acid requires two enzymes. The primary pathway for this conversion involves the sequential actions of glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase. Glutamine synthetase is abbreviated as GS and glutamate synthase is abbreviated as GOGAT. In today's lecture, we will see and discuss the enzymatic processes that mediate this assimilation of ammonium into essential amino acid, and we will also discover the role of amides in the regulation of nitrogen and carbon metabolism. Now, the first enzyme in the pathway of ammonium assimilation is glutamine synthetase. Glutamine synthetase combines ammoniamine with glutamate to form glutamine. Glutamate plus ammoniamine with the help of one ATP molecule will form one molecule of glutamine plus ADP and plus inorganic phosphate will release. This reaction requires the hydrolysis of one ATP as well as it also involves a divalent cation such as magnesium, manganese or cobalt as a cofactor. Glutamine synthetase in plants has two classes. One that is found in cytosol. The cytosolic forms are expressed in germinating seeds or in the vascular bundles of roots and shoots and produce glutamine for intracellular nitrogen transport. The other form is present in the root plastid or shoot chloroplast. The glutamine synthetase in root plastids generate amide nitrogen for local consumption. The GS in the shoot chloroplast re-assimilates photorespiratory ammonia, according to Lamb et al. In 1996. Light and carbohydrate levels alter the expression of plastid forms that is found in the chloroplast, but it cannot have any effect on the cytosolic form. Structure and pathways of compounds involved in ammonium metabolism. Ammonium can be assimilated by one of several processes. The one processes here you can see that ammonium with the help of one ammonium will combine with one molecule of glutamate and it is in the presence of glutamine synthetase GS enzyme with the hydrolysis of one molecule of ATP will give rise to glutamine. Glutamine in turn will combine with 2-oxoglutarate which is produced during Krebs cycle in mitochondria and will give rise to two molecules of glutamate. Here you can see the enzyme which is responsible for this conversion is glutamate synthase GOGAT and it also requires electron for this process for this reaction. So the electron donor are two types here. It can be NADH or it can be ferredoxin in reduced form can be the donor for this reaction. If the tissues are non-photosynthetic, then the donor will be NADH, and if the tissues are photosynthetic in nature, like chloroplast containing cells or tissues, then the donor will be ferredoxin in reduced form. Here another representation of the same process. You can see here that glutamate plus one ammoniamine with the help of glutamine synthase in the presence of ATP can be converted into glutamine and this glutamine can be converted back into glutamate with the help of glutamate synthase enzyme and alpha ketoglutarate is represented here rather than alpha oxoglutarate. I told you that both are same things but different names plus NADH as electron donor. As I told you, if the tissues are non-photosynthetic, then the donor for the electron will be NADH. And if the tissues are photosynthetic, then this will process occurs with the help of ferredoxin reduced form. That will be the donor of the electron. Two molecules of glutamate are produced here. One is utilized again for the formation of another molecule of glutamine, and this cycle will continue. And the other molecule which is formed during this process, glutamate molecule, this will be exported to the other areas or other cells which require the nitrogen. Now, the second enzyme, glutamate synthase, GOGAT. If the glutamine concentration is high in the plastids, it will stimulate the activity of glutamate synthase, also known as glutamine 2-oxoglutarate aminotransferase, or as I told you, it can be abbreviated as GOGAT. G stands for glutamine, O stands for oxo, G stands for glutarate, and AT stands for aminotransferase. This enzyme transfers the amino group of glutamine to 2-oxoglutarate, or it can be 2-ketoglutarate, yielding 2 molecules of glutamate. Plant contain actually two types of GOGAT. One that is present in accept the electron from NADH, as I told you, in case of non-photosynthetic regions, and the other that accepts the electron from the ferredoxin. So glutamine plus 2-oxoglutarate plus NADH plus say H-ion will give rise to 2-glutamate plus NAD in oxidized form, and the same process with ferredoxin reduced form will give rise again to glutamate plus ferredoxin but in oxidized form. The NADH type of enzyme, NADH-GOGAT, is located in the plastids of non-photosynthetic tissue such as roots or vascular bundles of developing leaves. In roots, NADH-GOGAT is involved in the assimilation of ammonium ion that is absorbed directly from the rhizosphere. Rhizosphere is the area of the soil near the surface of the root. In vascular bundles of developing leaves, NADH-GOGAT assimilates glutamine translocated from root or senescing leaves. The FD type, ferredoxin dependent type of glutamate synthase, that is the FD-GOGAT, it is found in the chloroplast and serves in the photorespiratory nitrogen metabolism. Means if nitrogen metabolism is required during photorespiration, then FD-GOGAT will serve as a converter for the glutamine into glutamate. Both the amount of protein of this protein and its activity, means the activity of the ferredoxin dependent glutamate synthase and the amount of the protein ferredoxin dependent glutamate synthase, both are increased with the light levels, means more light, more activity and more concentration of this protein in the cells. Roots, particularly those are under nitrate nutrition, means if root are absorbing nitrate instead of ammonium ion, then they can have the FD type of GOGAT in the plastids. Means not chloroplast, but the other types of the plastids which are present in the root. So this FD GOGAT in the plastid are the root presumably function to incorporate the glutamine generated during the nitrate assimilation, because you know that nitrate assimilation can also give rise to ammonium ion first, and then it get incorporated into other organic forms of the plant. Here is alternative pathway for ammonium. So ammonium can be assimilated via this pathway with the help of glutamate dehydrogenase GDH, which catalyze a reversible reaction in which instead of formation of glutamate, the glutamate get deaminated and converted back into ammonium ion and into 2-oxoglutarate. So here the alternative pathway is shown. In previous slide I told you that this process with the help of GDH enzyme is reversible, but here there is a mistake that the process is not shown reversible here, but you can see that ammonium can be utilized for the formation of glutamate, and glutamate can be converted back into ammonium ion and 2-oxoglutarate. So the plant have the option. It can utilize glutamine for the formation of glutamate, or it can utilize the ammonium, directly ammonium and 2-oxoglutarate for the formation of glutamate. But in the previous case, the enzyme was involved glutamate synthase, and here the enzyme is involved glutamate dehydrogenase. So the reaction is reversible. So ammonium can be utilized for the formation of glutamate, or glutamate can be dissociated back into two oxoglutarate and ammoniamine. Here you can see that the electron donor for this enzyme, it can be NADPH or it can be NADH. Forms of GDH or glutamate dehydrogenase enzyme. There are two forms of glutamate dehydrogenase enzyme, as I told you in the previous slide कि ये NADH डिपेंडेंट भी हो सकता है, जैसा कि माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया में अगर ये मौजूद होगा तो NADH डिपेंडेंट होगा, or it can be NADPH dependent as it is localized in the chloroplast or the photosynthetic organ. Now ये नो डाउट कि ये जो प्रोटीन है GDH जो है यानी ग्लूटामेट डिहाइड्रोजिनेज प्रोटीन दैट इज एंजाइम इन नेचर, ये बहुत अबंडेंटली प्रेजेंट है दोनों फॉर्म्स में, तो इसकी दोनों फॉर्म्स NADH वाली फॉर्म भी और NADPH वाली फॉर्म दोनों ही अबंडेंटली प्रेजेंट होती हैं प्लांट में। लेकिन वो कहते हैं कि जो इम्पोर्टेंस जो है ग्लूटामीन सिंथेटेज और ग्लूटामेट सिंथेज की है फॉर द असिमिलेशन पर्पस ऑफ अमोनियम, और यू कैन से द अमोनियम को फिक्स करने के लिए या सिमुलेट करने के लिए इन द प्लांट बॉडी, जो इम्पोर्टेंस उस पाथवे की है जो सबसे पहले मैंने आपको समझाया है, वो इसकी नहीं हो सकती। हालांकि एंजाइम डिफरेंट है और वो रिवर्सिबल रिएक्शन के लिए इस्तेमाल हो रहा है, मतलब ग्लूटामेट को बनाने के लिए भी इस्तेमाल हो रहा है और ग्लूटामेट को डीअमाइनेट करने के लिए भी इस्तेमाल हो रहा है, रिवर्स में भी इस्तेमाल हो रहा है। लेकिन प्लांट जो प्रेफरेंशियली अगर उसने अमोनियम को इस्तेमाल करना है सिमुलेशन के पर्पस के लिए, तो वो इसको प्रेफर नहीं करता ग्लूटामेट बनाने के लिए, वो ग्लूटामीन सिंथेटेज और ग्लूटामेट सिंथेज एंजाइम को इस्तेमाल करेगा और उसके ज़रिए ग्लूटामेट बनाएगा और फिर उसको रिसाइक्लिंग या ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए इस्तेमाल करेगा। हाँ, अलबत्ता अगर उसको ये ज़रूरत है कि वो ग्लूटामेट को रिवर्स करवा दें, यानी कि वापस अमोनिया में अमोनियमाइन में और उसके साथ जो है 2 ऑक्सोग्लूटारेट बना दें, तो फिर जो इसका प्राइमरी फंक्शन जो है जीडीएच का वो इस्तेमाल होगा और जीडीएच फिर इस पर्पस के लिए प्लांट जो है वो इस्तेमाल कर सकता है। Transamination reactions transfer nitrogen. Once assimilated into glutamine and glutamate, nitrogen is incorporated into other amino acids via transamination reactions. The enzymes that catalyze these reactions are known as aminotransferases. As the name indicated, aminotransferases का मतलब क्या है कि ये ऐसे एंजाइम्स हैं जो कि एक कंपाउंड से अमाइन ग्रुप को ट्रांसफर करते हैं दूसरे कंपाउंड में। इसकी एग्जांपल जैसे कि नीचे दी भी गई है कि कैसे एक जो नाइट्रोजन कंटेनिंग कंपाउंड है वो किस तरीके से दूसरी नाइट्रोजन कंटेनिंग अमाइनो एसिड में कन्वर्ट होगा, तो वो एग्जांपल यहाँ पे बताई हुई है जिसमें ग्लूटामेट प्लस ऑक्सैलो एसिटिक एसिड will be converted into aspartate, which is another form of amino acid, and plus 2-oxoglutarate. Now you can see the enzyme which is utilized here for this conversion is aspartic aminotransferase, which can be abbreviated as ASPAT. और aspartate aminotransferase क्या करता है एक्चुअली कि ग्लूटामेट जो है वो अमाइन ग्रुप कंटेनिंग कंपाउंड है, तो इसका अमाइन ग्रुप ये लेकर ऑक्सैलो एसिटिक एसिड के साथ रिप्लेस करेगा, इसकी कार्बोनाइल कार्बन के साथ, कार्बोनाइल कार्बन इसको मिल जाएगी, इसका अमाइन ग्रुप ऑक्सैलो एसिटिक एसिड को मिल जाएगा और ऑक्सैलो एसिटिक एसिड आफ्टर हैविंग द अमाइन ग्रुप will be converted into aspartic acid, और ये जो ग्लूटामेट है with the replacement of amine group with the carbonyl carbon, this will be converted into 2-oxoglutarate. Here is the structural representation of this conversion glutamate plus oxaloacetate, और जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था कि ये जो अमाइन ग्रुप है दिस विल बी रिप्लेस्ड विद दिस कार्बोनाइल ग्रुप, और ये जो कार्बन डबल बॉन्ड O है ये इसके साथ रिप्लेस हो जाएगा और अमाइन ग्रुप इसके पास चला जाएगा, दिस विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू एस्पार्टिक एसिड। सेम स्ट्रक्चर फॉर्मूला सिवाय इसके कि यहाँ पे अमाइन ग्रुप लग गया, ठीक है। और क्योंकि यहाँ पे अमाइन ग्रुप लग गया है तो ये डबल बॉन्ड O जो है ये फिर ग्लूटामेट के पास चला जाएगा और सेम स्ट्रक्चर फार्मूला विद कार्बोनाइल कार्बन जब इसको मिलेगी तो दिस विल बी कन्वर्टेड इनटू 2-ऑक्सो ग्लूटारेट, जिसको मैंने आपको बताया था कि कीटो ग्लूटारेट के नाम से भी आपने पढ़ा होगा क्रेब्स साइकिल की सूरत में। वहाँ पे प्लांट साइंटिस्ट कहते हैं कि इसको मोर प्रिसाइजली इसको 2-ऑक्सो ग्लूटारेट पढ़ना चाहिए रादर देन 2-कीटो ग्लूटारेट। और एस्पार्टेट अमाइनो ट्रांसफेरेज एंजाइम, जैसा मैंने आपको बताया था पिछले रिएक्शन में कि ये इसमें इन्वॉल्व होता है और इसका काम क्या है, अमाइन ग्रुप की ट्रांसफर करवाना। In the previous reaction, the amino group of glutamate is transferred to the carboxyl atom of aspartic acid और aspartate, यही aspartate जो है फिर participate करेगा malate aspartate shuttle में, और जिसका काम क्या है, to transfer the reducing equivalents from mitochondria and chloroplast into the cytosol and in the transport of the carbon from mesophyll टू बंडल शीट सेल फॉर C4 कार्बन फिक्सेशन। जैसा कि आपको पता है ना कि जब C4 कार्बन फिक्सेशन होती है तो जो मैलेट प्रोड्यूस होता है, और ये मैलेट जो प्रोड्यूस होता है इसको मेसोफिल सेल्स में अगर प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है तो इसको फिर बंडल शीट सेल्स में जो है वो जाना होता है फॉर फर्दर जो आप कहने की कार्बन फिक्सेशन को। तो ये कार्बन फिक्सेशन के लिए फिर इसको मूव करना पड़ेगा, कार्बन को मूव करना पड़ेगा, तो इसके लिए फिर ये मैलेट एस्पार्टेट शटल जो है ये इम्पोर्टेंट होता है और ये इसकी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के लिए इस्तेमाल होता है। फर्दर डिटेल जो है जब हम रेस्पिरेशन को और पढ़ेंगे डिटेल से तो वहाँ पे मैं आपको बताऊंगी कि ये मैलेट एस्पार्टेट शटल क्या है और किस तरीके से ये यूजफुल है फॉर द यू कैन से द ट्रांसफर ऑफ रिड्यूसिंग कवलेंट्स। यहाँ पे एक और चीज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि अगर हम ये चाहते हैं कि ट्रांस अमाइनेशन रिएक्शंस जो हैं वो होते रहें प्लांट्स में, तो ना सिर्फ उनको अमाइनो ट्रांसफेरेज एंजाइम्स चाहिए होते हैं, बल्कि उसके साथ उनको पायरिडॉक्सिल फॉस्फेट, जिसको हम आम जबान में विटामिन B6 के नाम से जानते हैं, ये भी रिक्वायर्ड होते हैं एज कोफैक्टर। अमाइनो ट्रांसफेरेजेस को अगर आप देखें तो दीज आर फाउंड इन द साइटोप्लाज्म, ये माइटोकॉन्ड्रिया में भी होते हैं, क्लोरोप्लास्ट में भी हैं, ग्लाइऑक्सिसोम में भी हैं जहाँ पे ग्लाइऑक्सिलेट पाथवे हो रहा होता है, एंड परऑक्सिसोम जहाँ पे आपके जो है ऑक्सीडेंट्स जो है वो प्रोड्यूस हो रहे होते हैं और वहाँ पे आपके रॉस जो हैं वो जनरेट हो रहे होते हैं, तो वहाँ पे भी ये वहाँ पे भी ये पाया जाता है। तो अमाइनो ट्रांसफेरेजेस जो है ज़्यादातर ये लोकलाइज्ड होते हैं क्लोरोप्लास्ट में। दे हैव अ सिग्निफिकेंट रोल इन द अमाइनो एसिड बायोसिंथेसिस। और ये हमें कैसे पता चला कि साइंटिस्ट ने क्या किया कि प्लांट लीव्स को निकाल के और उनमें से क्लोरोप्लास्ट को भी अलहदा करके और उनको फिर रेडियो एक्टिवली लेबल्ड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड जो है वो सप्लाई की। तो जब उन्होंने रेडियो एक्टिवली लेबल्ड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड सप्लाई की तो उन्होंने देखा कि ये जो कार्बन है ये इनकॉर्पोरेट हो जाती है, यानी कि जिसको रेडियो एक्टिवली लेबल्ड जो कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड पर सप्लाई की गई तो ये देखा कि ये इनकॉर्पोरेट हो जाती है फॉर द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ ग्लूटामेट, एस्पार्टेट, एलानिन, सेरीन एंड ग्लाइसिन। यू पीपल नो कि ये सारे के सारे अमाइनो एसिड्स हैं। तो इसका मतलब ये है कि क्लोरोप्लास्ट में जो कार्बन है दैट इज आल्सो यूटिलाइज्ड फॉर द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ अमाइनो एसिड, यानी बायोसिंथेसिस ऑफ अमाइनो एसिड takes place in the chloroplast. Glutamine is formed through ammonium ion assimilation pathway, and asparagine is another amino acid which can be formed from glutamine. As I told you in the previous slides that different amino acid can be biosynthesized in the chloroplast. From one amino acid another amino acid can be formed. So asparagine isolated from the asparagus and it was the first amide to be identified. It is very important amino acid because it serves not only as a protein precursor but also is a key compound for nitrogen transport and storage. Why it is so? Because its stability and the high nitrogen to carbon ratio, that is 2 nitrogen to 4 carbon, as in case of asparagine. If you compare this nitrogen carbon ratio of asparagine to other amino acids which are being formed during this assimilation pathway like glutamine and glutamate, so you can see that the nitrogen carbon ratio of glutamine is lower than asparagine, that is 2 nitrogen to 5 carbon, and in case of glutamate, it is again lower than the glutamine itself, that is 1 nitrogen to 5 carbon, that is very low from asparagine. The major pathway for asparagine synthesis involve the transfer of the amide nitrogen from the glutamine to asparagine. This is further clarified in the coming slide through structure formulas. Here is the representation that glutamine plus aspartic acid with the help of 1 ATP, it can be converted into asparagine and glutamate, and of course we will get adenosine monophosphate and pyrophosphate with as byproduct from this. Here is the structural representation of this conversion. Glutamine having an amide group in its structure. This amide group will be transferred to the aspartic acid, and aspartic acid after having this amide group will be converted into asparagine, while the glutamate after giving this amide group will be converted into glutamate. So this is the synthesis of asparagine by transfer of amino acid. The enzyme which is involved here is known as asparagine synthetase, just like the glutamine synthetase, which is involved in the formation of glutamine. Asparagine synthetase, the enzyme that catalyzes this reaction for the formation of asparagine, it is found in the cytosol of leaves and roots and in nitrogen fixing nodules. This is also our topic of next lecture. In maize roots, particularly those under potentially toxic levels of ammonia, ammonia may replace glutamine as the source of the amide group. High levels of light and carbohydrate, these are the conditions which are required to stimulate the plastid glutathione's glutamine synthetase and ferredoxin form of glutamate synthase and inhibit the expression of gene coding for asparagine synthetase and the activity of the enzyme. The opposing regulation of these competing pathways, one is involved in the formation of asparagine and the other is involved in the formation of glutamate. So both the pathways, one is activated by light and carbohydrate, while the formation of asparagine is inhibited by light and carbohydrate. So why it is so? The opposing regulation of these competing pathway actually helps plant balance the metabolism of carbon and nitrogen and condition of ample energy, like if the plant have high levels of light and carbohydrates, so this will stimulate the both enzymes like glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase, or it will inhibit asparagine synthase and thus favor the nitrogen assimilation into glutamine and glutamate compounds that are rich in carbon and participate in the synthesis of new plant material. Now the regulation of glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase. A figure is also given in the next slide for the regulation pathway of these two enzymes. In here you can see that both these enzymes represents a critical metabolic point of coordination between nitrogen assimilation in the form of ammonium and carbon metabolism in the form of alpha ketoglutarate or 2-oxoglutarate. Cellular carbon nitrogen status is actually sensed by a signal sensing protein that is known as P2. And what are P2 proteins? These are one of the most ubiquitous and highly conserved regulatory proteins which are involved in the regulations of enzyme found in the nature, and they are present in the in ancient archaebacteria, eubacteria, as well as they're also present in the eukaryotes like plants and algae. And this relatively small chloroplastic protein is only about 14 kilodalton. It is nuclear encoded, but it is utilized in the chloroplast, and it senses both the level of ATP status in the cell and the alpha ketoglutarate levels by the allosteric means. The cellular nitrogen status is sensed through the changes in the glutamine availability actually. Either the glutamine levels are high or low. This will ultimately affect the activation or inactivation of glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthesis. and this will happen via the post-translational modification of the P2 protein by uridylation. Like the light regulated enzymes of the Calvin cycle, these two enzymes like glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase, they also exist in either an active form or an inactive form. As I told you that for their activation and inactivation, P2 proteins are required, and which in turn uridylated using uridine triphosphate. Just like that, proteins are get phosphorylated and dephosphorylated with the help of ATP and get activated or inactivated. Just like that, the P2 protein is activated and deactivated the glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase with the help of its own uridylation with the help of UTP. So it has two forms, either it is in the form of P2 or either it is in the form of P2UMP. So this modified P2 protein actually interact with inactive form of these two enzymes to convert into active form, and which stimulate the glutamine synthesis and hence stimulus the simulation of the ammoniamine. इसके बरक्स, if we see, then when glutamine levels are high, so the previous condition was when glutamine levels were low. Now, if the glutamine levels are high, the P2UMP is converted back into P2 status, and which will convert the active forms of these two enzymes, glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase, to the inactive form, which slows the rate of the ammonium assimilations, hence hence decreasing the levels of glutamine, further formation of the glutamine. Here is the representation of this all this process which I told you in the previous slide. Here you can see that both these enzymes can be in the active form or in the inactive form, and this in turn regulated by the P2 protein, which are also present in two forms, P2 and P2UMP. P2UMP or uridine monophosphate can be formed with the help of UTP, with the utilization of UTP, but it will always utilize UTP always utilized to form P2UMP when the glutamine levels are low. So P2UMP will be formed, and this will convert the inactive form of these two enzymes into active form of the enzyme. While in other case, when glutamine levels are high, so this UMP will be separated from it, and this will convert again it into P2 form without any UMP attached with it. Then this will convert the active form of these two enzymes into inactive forms. Therefore, the regulation of these two enzymes, glutamine synthetase and glutamate synthase by uridylation of the P2 proteins are possible. Uridine triphosphate is utilized for the phosphorylation of the P2 protein, which in turn regulate the activity or inactivity of the enzymes. This is, you can say, the summary of the nitrogen assimilation pathway in higher plants. Nitrogen assimilation in higher plants can produce the pool of ammoniamine in various ways. The first way is the uptake of the nitrate through the nitrate transport NRT. This nitrate will be converted through nitrate reductase enzyme into nitrite, and nitrite with the help of nitrite reductase enzyme will be converted into finally into the ammoniamine. Then this ammoniamine can be obtained from the direct biological fixation of the dinitrogen form of nitrogen into ammoniamine with the help of biological fixation of by the microorganisms like bacteria, etc. And then this ammonium can be directly obtained from the soil by the plant root through the ammonium transporter. Just like the nitrate transporter is responsible for the uptake of nitrate, ammonium transporter is responsible for the direct uptake of ammonium. This ammonium can also be obtained from the degradation of amino acid and protein, and this will also increase the pool of the ammonium. And this ammonium can also be obtained from the photorespiration process. And finally, this ammonium has the ultimate utilization in the while it is converted into glutamine with the help of glutamine synthetase enzyme. Glutamine, once it is formed, has three pathways. One is the conversion back into the glutamate with the help of GOGAT, glutamate synthase enzyme. The other pathway is the glutamine conversion into the asparagine with the help of asparagine synthetase enzyme. The other way out is the utilization of the glutamine, direct utilization of the glutamine, although asparagine can be utilized for the formation of other amino acids. So glutamine can be converted into other forms of the amino acids directly, and these amino acids can be utilized for the formation of nucleotides or for the formation of protein. Now, another product of the glutamine glutamine conversion into the glutamate is the other molecule of glutamate. This can be also directly utilized for the formation of amino acid. And this glutamate, as I told you in one of the slides of this lecture, this glutamate can be converted back into oxoglutarate with the help of glutarate dehydrogenase enzyme. And this 2-oxoglutarate can be formed with the help of citric acid cycle or TCA, or which in turn utilize the photosynthate products of the photosynthesis. So this is all about the summary of the nitrogen metabolism in the higher plants. All the lecture material is mainly based on these two books. One is Plant Physiology 5th edition by Tezen Ziegler, and the other one is Introduction to Plant Physiology 2nd edition by Hopkin. You can read these books for further clarification of the concept of ammonium assimilation in plants. Thank you very much. This is all about today's lecture. If you have any question or query, you can ask me via Google Classroom, on my email, or through WhatsApp group.